Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Wall. It's me, the Outcast Angel, and today let's talk about issue 3 of Crude by Steve Orlando and Garry Brown. This cover is pretty interesting. I mean, we get a first look at one of the one of the top dogs of Petropinnacle, and it's really interesting. It reminds me of those kind of sorry, I'm trying to hide my face over here. It reminds me of those kind of like propaganda style posters. You know, just with the strong looking profile here, and then like these almost look like bullets in the background, and then we see just the city of what's it called Blackstone, just running in the oil, and it's pretty cool. This is a pretty interesting cover from most of the others that we've been shown, and so jumping right in, we are introduced to the life that Piotr Petrovich has been creating here at Blackstone after he's trying to figure out who killed his son or what led to the death of his son. And he's making some good friends here. I mean, we see him here having lunch with a few of his coworkers, and um, it's it seems like he's getting comfortable, but not so much because here we see us a page where it's just his everyday day life. He wakes up, goes to work, has lunch or eats, and then sleeps, but not so much sleeps. He kind of lies awake at night, and I mean, and for me, that seems like a very dull lifestyle. I mean, it just seems so mundane in other words. But I mean, this is what he has to do in order to put himself in the shoes that his son was in. And so in this next scene, we get to see, we get to really meet this top dog of Petropinnacle, the executive chairman, I guess, or I don't know. From what I know, he's an executive of Petropinnacle, and we see him grilling these two, I guess, agents, and they're actually the agents that got the crap beat out of him in issue 2 by Piotr, and I just to clear things up, I did talk with I asked Steve Orlando, the writer for this series. I asked him how he pronounces what I was pronouncing as Peter Petrovich, how he pronounced his name, and he pronounced it as Piotr. So I don't know if it's like Piotr, like Peter, the way you say it close enough to where it sounds like Peter, but I don't know. I'm attempting until someone proves me otherwise. So I'm giving it my best here. Anyway, so he's trying to get some information out of these guys because he's finding it hard to believe that two agents of one of the most powerful entities in Blackstone were beaten down by what he describes as a dirty, shirtless man, or as a what is it? He had a name for it. Um, this gutter person, and he's like, how what can possibly explain how this abortion of my expectations happened? And these guys, they're beat up. They are not looking very good. I mean, this woman has an eye patch. This guy just looks super swollen, and it's bad. But they defend themselves, saying this was no gutter person. And we actually learned the name of this executive. His name is Vitaly Ivanovich, and I hope I'm saying that right. But I'm gonna be kind of going off of guessing here. Okay, so Vitaly Ivanovich is the executive of Petropinnacle, and so Vitaly is he's not really convinced. This is where he says something interesting because he says the truth is, unless he was Evpati Kolovrat, which is the name or code name of Piotr from his past life, because as we know so far, he was some kind of assassin, some kind of agent, and so they know he knows who he is, or at least assumes that they know who he is too. And what he says here, some indestructible giant of myth reborn, you guys underperformed. So he's like, you guys didn't live up to expectations. In other words, he wants these what he says, these dock slugs, the people who work down in the docks, to, they think they have a hero. So he orders them to cut their water rations by half, and to tell them that they have their hero to thank. And so that's obviously going to cause some backlash. Now in this next scene, we see just how haunted Piotr is by the death of his son, and so he's still remembering his son. He's kind of making these promises to him, saying, "I'm trying, but this place, this is where you came to live," and he can't understand why. This is the place he wanted to live, to be himself, to be free, and it's like he's obviously very confused by this. Now in this next scene, Piotr and his friends are, hitting the showers, and this is interesting to me because in a lot of series, in comic series, we see a lot of female nudity, but we don't see a lot of male nudity, and we see a lot of both in this, at least this series so far, and I kind of appreciate that because it's kind of like Game of Thrones. Like, ooh, I just looked into the light. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. Like you see like one wiener throughout the whole span of the series, but you see tons of just boobs and nakedness, and it's just like really you can't handle one naked guy or something, or several. And so it's just interesting to me to see so much I guess shared nudity. Anyway, so Piotr is talking to one of his closer friends. I forgot his name. Mikhail. Yeah, Mikhail. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Okay. And Mikhail has this type of philosophical side to him. He likes to, he'll complain. He'll just make little, just daily complaints. And so, and Piotr asks him like, why work here if you hate it? And Mikhail says, it's the money, Piotr Petrovich. Each tour on the rig pays exponentially. And because I hate it everywhere. Oh, and because I hate it everywhere. That is adult life. Here, at least, there is danger to spice up such a mundane existence. So, like I said, they work here to have more of an interesting life. And so Mikhail mentions how they're going to be, indulging our basic instincts, and yeah, so these guys hit up the strip club, and of course we see female strippers and male strippers. So again, just interesting seeing that dynamic here, and here we get to see just what kind of people are here in Blackstone. Like here we have Stepan, 37, former boxer, heavy psoriasis. Ooh. Alexei, 49, ex-con, mild case of Pika. Ugh. Maxim, 29, disgraced policeman, not here for the women. Oh. Maybe I think maybe since he's not there for the women, maybe he was disgraced because he may be gay, and I mean, especially in Russia, they're very homophobic and anti, LGBT. So it's just, I can see why that probably would have ruined his career. And then we have Mikhail, 41, insomniac, and an alcoholic. Not too bad, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, it's interesting just seeing this span of characters that live in Blackstone. In the next scene, which is well, what how it says in the scene, even later that night, we see Piotr walking through. I'm not sure exactly. It looks like maybe the slums or something. Just this is where everyone is kind of indulging in their basic instincts, and here we see a panel where uh, we really see how Piotr is carrying the death of his son, and we actually see that here because we see Piotr walking in what looks like a Jedi ghostly image here with a rope tied from his back to a coffin that his son is riding, and of course, he still sees his son as a little boy because he was his little boy, and this is interesting because we really see how it's affecting him and how he's really carrying that burden of his death because he feels bad that he never really accepted his son or never really, I guess, offered a safe place for his son. And so we see him walk up to a street vendor, and he actually comes into possession of one of their trench coats with the high collars and everything. And in the next scene, we see it's so much later. It's now early. that just makes me laugh because it reminds me of like SpongeBob, where it's like 2 hours later, 2 more hours later, or something. It's just adding on to it. And here we see uh, Piotr busts in to the home of this Petropinnacle executive. Now, interesting side note. From the last issue, I noticed that the lettering in this issue for like the sound effects and everything it's changed. The letterer, who is Thomas Maurer, is now implementing uh, a noise style that represents Russian language, and I mean, I'm not that fluent in Russian. I can barely speak Spanish, um, but yeah, it's interesting to me because it really sets the tone of the Russian culture, I guess, and so here we see the Petropinnacle executive trying his best to uh, kind of beat himself off in the shower. And it's just funny hearing him say, embarrassing me once again. I give you the best drugs I can afford. Do it for me. We're alone now. It's hilarious. Then he notices that someone's in his house, and Piotr, beats the crap out of him, and really wants. He's trying to get some answers out of him, which this guy, Vitaly Ivanovich, there we go, I got his name right, provides to him. Piotr is demanding information on Kirill Petrovich Bilibin, which is his son, and from what Vitaly says, he was a name on my list, just like half the degenerate swill I hired to staff this iron turd. I love the dialogue here. What I do remember well is how he left in a bag, dead, in one of Meshe Adam's hits. So why don't you know that? Because he assumes that that he is with Meshe Adam because of the trench coat, and also another detail. Uh, Piotr's face is obscured by mud again. That's kind of what he's using to disguise himself, as well as slicking his hair back. And so he leaves him alone, and Vitaly kind of is just like, no, leave me alone. And he just walks away. Like, I feel like he kind of let him off easy. I felt like if he really wanted to get something done, he would have killed him. But I just thought it was interesting. Next, we see Vitaly addressing Petropinnacle, and he looked pretty beat up. And so Piotr is talking with Mikhail, and he looks pretty pleased with himself, with knowing that he's the one that caused him to be so uncomfortable. And so, while they're talking, there's a ruckus going on, and turns out that there's another Meshe Adam attack going on. A suicide bomber with a grenade in his hand, and uh, what he's yelling is Petra pigs, you think starving us, rationing our water gives you power? Meshe Adam fights for the people. And so they shoot him down, but he still manages to pull the pin, and we see this just huge explosion, which seems too much. I mean, it was a grenade. It wasn't exactly like a like C4 or something. It was just a tiny little hand grenade. Anyway, and we see that Russian lettering again, that Russian explosion word. I don't know how to say it. Crazy thing here, we see Mikhail falling over the edge, and uh, Piotr saves him. He jumps over the edge, holds onto the rail, and grabs him. And uh, Mikhail has a good maybe 150 to 200 pounds uh, on Piotr. So it's like this is insane. And even next scene, we see uh, Piotr really getting ready for another fight. He's mucked up again, and he's following some uh, thugs from Meshe Adam. Now, I'm still a little confused with this whole Meshe Adam deal, because they say they're fighting for the people, yet they still kind of pick on them. Like we see here, they're picking on this old man, and one of them says, "Maybe if you weren't such a punk, you wouldn't need us to protect you." And watch your mouth. It's just it sucks, because it's like they're not asking you to help them. It's like you guys are fighting for them, but they're not exactly asking. Anyway, Piotr catches up to them and beats the crap out of them, and we see a whole lot of that Russian lettering here. He manages to incapacitate both of them, but incapacitate one to the point of still being able to talk. And here he's getting right up in his face and saying, repeating Kirill's name, saying he was killed in one of your attacks. Meshe Adam killed him. Who ordered the attack? Who did it? Who called it? Whatever. He starts talking as Piotr is getting surrounded by Meshe Adam thugs, and what he says is, "You want to know who's responsible for Kirill's death? What piece of trash made it so? Kirill Petrovich Bilibin. He was the one holding the gun. One of our suicide soldiers. That's right. Kirillchik was Meshe Adam." And the way he says it here, we see Piotr really taking in this revelation. And at first I thought this guy was saying that Kirill, was the leader of Meshe Adam, that he's the one who created Meshe Adam, or that he was Meshe Adam. But no, the way it's highlighted or in bold here, it's saying Kirillchik was Meshe Adam. He was part of Meshe Adam. And so that's where we end with this issue. And fun fact, I got a letter in the first letters page of this series. And so start off with, "Hello, Team Crude. I'm loving the series more with each issue. The story quickly catches on, and I love what Garry is bringing to the mix with this art, of course. I'm a little curious as to the sides being played here. Is Meshe Adam another company, or is it just a vigilante group set on fighting the bigger companies? I'm sure you'll tell us in the coming issues, but I'm pretty psyched. I still feel pretty bad about Kirill. I feel like we were really connecting with this handsome kid, and then he dies. Boo." But I can tell this series needs a martyr, so I'm excited with the outcome of this arc. Of course, that's exactly what happened. And so the editor, Jon Moisan, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, replies with, "Thanks, Andy. Hopefully this issue gave you a few of the answers you were looking for and made things a little more clearer. As the series moves along, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with where it goes. I know as Steve was sending in scripts, there were a few moments where I was absolutely shocked. And, keep your eyes peeled. And Steve Orlando replies with, "Thank you, Andy, and thank you for following the book. As you'll see, Meshe Adam is one of many factions in Blackstone masquerading as a source of hope and liberation. But in Crude, much of those notions can only come from ourselves, which is why at this point, Piotr has rejected them and is angry at them all. But the more he finds out about Kirill, the more he'll find out just how powerful the true villains and the arts manipulators of Blackstone really are. So, it's just kind of giving some more cryptic details, but yeah, that's the end of this issue and the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, drop a like, show the love, hit that subscribe button to get more of my videos, ring the bell to get notifications on when I post new videos, so that way you guys stay updated and don't miss out. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.